Hello everyone. Welcome to a few different things. Welcome to this moment, most essentially and most importantly. When you're entering, if you could please share where you're from or where you're at geographically in this moment. Welcome Jane, welcome Robin, welcome Phyllis. Welcome everybody to this exciting simulcast of The Secret Glow, our private Facebook group, and my main page, episode 120 of The Glow. So we got the private group and the public wider group coming together for close to an hour today. So we're going to dive in deep. And the way we dive in deep is we come into a space of presence together. Laguna Beach for how much longer, Robin? When are you coming to Asheville? I have an idea in mind for you, by the way. We'll chat later. The UK, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, welcome. So when we create this field of presence together, this depth of presence together, there's a different quality that's able to arise. A different level of insights, a different level of perspective, a different level of awareness, a different level of inspiration, a different level of co-creation. So what's so exciting that's happening now is the space of co-creation that arises. Recognize and realize the space of co-creation. So a lot of you have been inspired to some degree by the insights of quantum physics, that the observer and the observed are one. Welcome, William. That whatever I give my attention to, by my very observation of giving attention to the object, I change the object. And the object changes me. It's really not that out there, or it's pretty logical, pretty rational, I would say. What we're giving our attention to changes. Sorry, my housemate is, I don't know if you can hear that, but he's very excited right now, apparently. So what we're giving our attention to changes, and the change changes us. So there's a reciprocal energy that's apparent, and it's always the case. So this is where law of attraction and these teachings come into being. What we give our attention to, we get more of, right? Like attracts like. So we're always reflecting back, reverberating back to some degree, to some level, continuously, that which we are and our level of presence. Our level of presence. So if I'm playing a game and I'm not really that interested in it, I'm not really giving it my attention, I'm too busy thinking about other things, I'm too busy thinking about next week, I'm too busy thinking about what might happen in 5 years, I'm too busy thinking about why I'm angry at my father for what happened last week, or my spouse for what happened 3 months ago, then I'm not going to be giving my full level of presence to the game, and I'm not going to be as successful in the game as I otherwise would, right? So it's not something that's like, it can seem like it's some kind of woo-woo thing, but I'm actually very interested in things that are logical, practical, rational, make perfect sense all the way through. And that's what we're interested in here. So What happens is when we come into this space of presence together, that means we're fully here together. We're fully engaged. We're fully available. To this moment. Together. Now. Something happens, and what happens is that which we've always longed for, we've always wanted, what we've always dreamed for ourselves. So we may have thought we could get it through a certain amount of money, riches, material things, material goods, a certain man, a certain woman, having a baby, getting the right house, finding the right community, getting the right job, having a better family, etc. Now, these things may seem like they're material, practical things, but they're actually just concepts in your head. They're concepts in your mind. They're actually a distraction and an avoidance from deeply engaging into this world. So these things may seem like they're of the world, but they're really of the mind, which is keeping you from being fully engaged in the world. Now, how or where are you fully going to engage in this world? You're only going to fully, wholly, and completely engage. We are only going to fully, wholly, completely engage in this world now, here. So, a fundamental component of anything that I'm doing, anything that I'm offering, anything that I'm sharing, whether it's personal coaching sessions, whether it's my writing, whether it's retreats, whether it's the secret glow, whether it's workshops or classes or gatherings, or having a conversation with somebody in the street, or looking at someone in the perfect silence while the moon shines down on a December evening, whatever it is, the fundamental component is to activate presence. To activate this full, whole, complete depth of presence. And if we activate this whole, full, complete depth of presence, if I activate this full, whole, complete depth of presence, start with me, then whatever I'm engaging in has a quality that's magical to it, has a miraculous quality to it, has a quality of amazement. So we can explore why it has a quality of amazement. It's actually, again, very practical, rational, simple, makes sense all the way through. So we'll explore that in a bit. There's this quality of amazement. Now, if there's a group of people, and we come together with a group, and we're present together, we activate the space of full depth of presence together. Now something exponentially more powerful arises. And you really start to understand in this space that I'm pointing at, you start to understand the purpose of why we're here, what this is, this whole human thing, this whole like, oh, here I am, here you are, look at that person over there, look at that person over there, oh, there's a bunch of clouds, there's some trees, there's a caterpillar. You start to understand what this is and how magnificent it is and what the purpose of all this differentiation is. And it's to activate what I call the unified resonant field. The unified resonant field. So everything that we see, everything that I see is a reflection of me. The law of attraction shows us this. Christianity shows us this. Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, all the religions show us this, in the essence of their teachings, beyond the dogma, beyond the nonsense, shows us this core truth that all of these beings have realized. The New Age teachings teach us this. Everything points us to this essential truth. If you want to transcend suffering, first of all, suffering, to backtrack for a moment, is not bad, is not wrong, is not something that shouldn't exist. Suffering arises as a really gift of compassion, to point to us when we're out of alignment, when we're not aligned with the essence of who we really are, when we're not aligned with the truth of who we are. When we're not aligned in the essence of who we are, we're not aligned in the truth of who we are, we suffer. Now the problem is, and it's a big problem, instead of realizing that, there's this tendency to want to blame somebody for our suffering. To want to blame some person, some family member, some group, some gender, some race, some government, to blame something outside of ourselves for the suffering, which maintains the suffering. Instead of recognizing and realizing the suffering is there to point to us, to bring us aware of the fact that we've lost the sense of who we really are. We're disconnected from the sense of who we really are. To use a term that's sometimes used, we're out of alignment. Right? So suffering isn't there because some being in the sky hates us, or some being in the sky is trying to hurt us, God is trying to hurt us, or God is trying to make us feel punishment for the things that we've done. Karma. Suffering is there to just say, hey, you've lost a sense of who you really are. So like a little tap to like get you back on course. And it's subtle at first, but when you continue to deny it, and you can continue to repress it, and you continue to suppress it, and you continue to blame other people for what's happening, for the suffering that you're experiencing, then it intensifies. So as it intensifies, what tends to happen is people tend to get more angry at other people. You're really making me suffer. You're really, really making me suffer. And so at some point, we must acknowledge the suffering, not as our enemy, and not coming from outside of us, but as our friend. there to guide us, there to help us, to listen. To listen to what there is to integrate. And as we start to integrate these different aspects of ourselves, we start to recognize and realize that everything that we are experiencing, everything that we are seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, hearing, is a reflection of the one divine, infinite essence, which is me. It's all me. All me. Now, this is an important point. Well, the most important point so far. Because the spiritual people talk about oneness, but the spiritual people like to think of this as spiritual and this is not spiritual. This is sacred, this is not sacred. This is good, this is bad. This is positive, this is negative. This is good thoughts, these is bad thoughts. This is good emotions, this is bad emotions. This is good people, this is bad people. This is righteous, this is a sin. This is righteous people, these are sinners. These are people who are connected to God and holy. These are people who are, what's the word? Licentiousness? That's a cool word I haven't used in a long time. So what's happening is creating division, creating separation. And as long as we're creating division and as long as we're creating separation, we suffer. As long as we're creating division and we're creating separation, we suffer. Because what we're projecting outward is really just what's happening inward. So the separation is being manifested inside ourselves. We're divided inside. We're at war with ourselves. And this creates the suffering. We're at war with ourselves, and this creates the suffering. This creates the lack of peace inside, the lack of freedom inside, the disconnection of energy, which creates a disempowerment inside, and I would say a lack of love. So the good part and the bad part, to break it down simply. The good part and the bad part. There's the good part of me and the bad part of me. And the good part of me needs to fight the bad part of me. Do you see how it works? It's not complicated. It's rational, it's logical, it's practical, makes sense all the way through. The good part of me and the bad part of me. Good part of me wants to get rid of the bad part of me. And the feeling is, this good part of me, if it gets rid of the bad part of me and it totally eradicates the bad part of me, then I'll feel good. If I can totally, completely get rid of this bad part of me, if I can just totally, completely get rid of this bad part of me, I'll feel good because then I'll just have the good part. So, the question is, does that work? Does that work? Here's the good part of me, here's the bad part of me. I have to try to crush this bad part of me and get rid of it. And if I get rid of it, then I'll feel good. Does that work? So what's important is most important is not to intellectualize this, right? But to really experientially go into it and explore it inside ourselves. And when you start to go into it and explore it inside yourself, and you can explore it in meditation. So the meditation that I offer to people is to be present. You could be sitting and still, or I'm actually even more excited by meditation that has movement involved. But in any case, let's say we're sitting and you're noticing the thoughts that arise. You're noticing the feelings that arise. You're noticing the sensations that arise. That arise and fall, that appear and disappear. Without a sense of good or bad. Now, there's no way to not have a sense of good or bad. There's no way you can make yourself not have a sense of good or bad. Only thing to do is when the sense of good and bad arises, to be aware of that without making a judgment of good or bad about it. Does that make sense? So there's kind of like layers of awareness. So you're noticing what's arising and being with what is. Well, the way I say it sometimes is, which is really probably the most accurate way to say it, is being in an unconditional relationship with what is. Being in an unconditional relationship with what is. That's meditation. That's all it is. Being in an unconditional relationship with what is. And what a fascinating thing starts to happen as you start to become present and available to this moment. The ideas that you've been attached and identified with start to become undone. And this can feel scary. Because, this is the way I thought the world was for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. This is the way that I was told it is. This is my conditioning of the way things are, the way things operate, and that starts to become undone. What's fascinating is the things that we think are bad are generally the things that we don't know or don't understand. And the things that we think are good are generally the things we do know and do understand. So the people that we think are good are the people that we feel like we know and understand. And the people that we think are bad are the people generally don't know and don't understand, as an example. So the sense of what we know, what we understand, as we become more present, starts to become undone. And in a sense, we start to become undone. The sense of attachment identified to who and what we think and thought we were starts to become undone. To the point where we start to align with the truth. What is the truth? The truth is simple. not complicated, and something that everyone can resonate with as true inside themselves. There's no dogma involved. There's nothing to believe involved. There's nothing to subscribe to involved. The truth is, if I had to put it in words, it's kind of something like this. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I never have, and I never will. If I had to put it in words, the truth would be something like that. I have absolutely no idea what's going on right now. I never have, and I never will. Come on, everyone, let's say it together. It's so much fun. I have no idea what's going on right now. Absolutely no idea what's going on right now. I never have, and I never will. Washing your brain. So how does that feel? So what happens if you have absolute idea on what's going on, absolutely no idea what's going on, you never had, you never will, you also don't know what's good or bad. You also don't know what's good or bad. This is a unbelievably amazing, incredible realization. The ego wants to control, you know. Yeah, it's really scary, right? It's so scary. I like being scared, so for me it's fun. The sense of not knowing what's good or bad. You have to understand or realize that what I think is good for me is just my own subjective idea based on past and projecting into the future. I don't really know what's good for me, nor do I even really know what's bad for me. You know, what looks bad in one moment, and later moment looks good. What looks good in one moment, later moment looks bad. Which one is true? In an absolute sense, neither one is true. It's all dependent upon my desires, my intentions. But why do I desire the things that I desire? Why do I intend the things I intend? I think it's going to make me happier in the future. Is it feeling that's going to make me happier in the future at some later point? I want things to go this way because it'll make me happier in the future. But what happens when you realize that nothing's going to make you happier in the future? What happens when you realize that nothing's going to make you happier in the future? You know, there's a paradox about me that I try to articulate sometimes. You rest, exactly, in this moment. Acceptance, yes. So there's this paradox, which is, I'm so excited about the future. You know, it's kind of like a buzz that's in me, like all day. I'm just so excited about the future. And all the things that are going to come and are going to come into being and are going to be experienced. Excited on a personal level, on a global level, on a cultural level, on a social level. Like, we're at the heart of the most, if you're listening to this right now, if you're tuning to this right now, we're at the heart of the most incredible revolution that's happening. You know, the revolution in consciousness is going to affect all these aspects of the world, you know, of our lives and our culture. It's so exciting, and I'm so excited about the future. And the reason, and really the only reason, that I'm so excited about the future is that I know that there isn't one. So I can just imagine whatever I want. Do you see how liberating that is? When you realize there actually is no future, then you can just imagine whatever you want about the future. And then you just feel it now. So let's just all imagine right now, like, how amazing the future is going to be, and how fantastic and miraculous and magical, and how much love we're going to feel, and freedom and adventure and excitement and joy and ecstasy. So, what happens when I realize I'm not going to be happy in the future? The answer is, if you want to put it in really simple language, I become happy now. Whatever I'm feeling about the future, when am I feeling it? Whatever I'm feeling about the past, when am I feeling it? That's a question for you to answer. Whatever I'm feeling about the future, when am I feeling it? Whatever I'm feeling about the past, when am I feeling it? Come on, this is simple, folks. Come on, let's get on it. Whatever I'm feeling about the future, when am I feeling it? Whatever I'm feeling about the past, when am I feeling it? When? When is the question. When am I feeling it? This is basic Brian Piergrossi Big Glow 101. When am I feeling it? Thank you. Now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Feeling it now. So how amazing is that realization? Whatever I'm thinking about in the future, I'm feeling it now. Whatever I'm feeling about the past, I'm feeling it now. Future is not real. The past is not real. The future is an imagination in our mind, right? Now, the other thing that's also true, but it's kind of a little bit more, it's kind of advanced level, is that the past is also imagination and vision in our minds. So we're creating a story about the future, we're creating a story about the past. Those stories change over time. So when we realize the story as a story, then we're present and we're self-aware, and then the question becomes, why do I want to tell myself stories that don't feel good, that cause me pain, that cause me suffering, that make me feel small, that make me feel not good enough, that make me feel not worthy? That make me feel disempowered. There is a reason for it, which the reason is because that's who I think I am. I think I am this person that's less than, that's disempowered, that's not worthy, that shouldn't receive love, right? So that's who I think I am. So I'm telling stories about the future, and I'm telling stories about the past that are aligned with who I think I am, which comes with a fundamental question, which is, who are you? Is that who you really are? That's why you're suffering, because you're telling yourself a story of, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, everyone's better than me, disempowered, I'm not beautiful, I'm not abundant, I'm not, all these different stories, right? So the reason those stories cause suffering, there's only one reason that they cause suffering. And the reason is because they're not true. So it's like, this universal creative intelligence, God saying, hey, like this belief that you have about yourself, it's not true. Look deeper. Look deeper into this fundamental question of, who are you really? Phyllis has been with me for quite a few years now, so she's ahead of the curve. So the essence of who we are, when we say we are nothing, the root of that is no thing. No thing has a vastness to it, has a infinite essence to it, has no beginning, has no end, has no top, has no bottom, has no sides. Timeless, doesn't come or go. Someone was asking me about stillness yesterday. Oh, there's this great sense of like stillness in you. How do you get this? How do you get this stillness? How do I get this stillness? We are the stillness. Like, that's who we are. That's who we really are. So you're just resting in the essence of who you really are, and you're becoming anchored there. You're becoming anchored in who you really are, as opposed to the ideas of who you think you are, being attached, identified to ideas of who you think you are. Who we really are transcends and includes all that is, transcends all concepts, all ideas, all beliefs, all stories. And the material world really is just a collection of stories. There was a line I came across from Eckhart Tolle yesterday, one of my old those memories from old Facebook posts. And it said, one sentence, but just so powerful. Every thought is a judgment. Every thought is a judgment. Now, that's a sentence you could sit with that sentence for a week straight, and that would just open up everything to you. Like, there's certain sentences, if you just take it all the way, it'll reveal everything to you. Another one I love is from Meister Eckhart is, if the only prayer you ever say your entire life is thank you, that should suffice. Right? So there's these lines that if you just go into the depth of them all the way, they'll take you all the way to the essence of who and what you truly are. So every thought is a judgment. Wow! Every thought is a judgment? Do you understand what a profound statement that is? Every thought is a judgment? It means whatever I think is not absolutely true. Every thought is a judgment. Doesn't mean you shouldn't think. To think is wonderful, beautiful. It's a beautiful tool. It's to realize and be aware that as you're thinking, while you're thinking, that every thought is a judgment. That's a major thing that happens in the spiritual world, Robin, is people judge themselves about being judgmental. I shouldn't be judgmental. You shouldn't be judgmental. I have always said that I'm a fan of judgment. That I think judgment is an essential tool of being a human being. But what's important is to realize judgment as judgment. That whatever judgment, whatever thought I have isn't true. It's based on my intentions, the direction I want to go in my life, what I want to create. So based on that, I make judgments about situations, about people, about experiences to advance me where I want to go. Right? So if I'm a coach of a football team, American football, then I will assess the players. My goal is I want to win. I want to win the championship. Right? So I will assess the players. I will make judgments about them. Who's the best player for this team to help this team win? Who's not the best player for this team to help that team win? This player stays on the team. This player gets let go, gets cut from the team. Right? So those are judgments. But they're not true. Just judgments. So the mind is making these calculations all day long. It's making these calculations, these discernments, is observing things and calculating what will help me advance where I want to go. How will this help me advance where I go? How will this help me advance where I go? These judgments are being made, right? So they're relatively true on the level that they're true, right? You have a judge in a courtroom. Judge in a courtroom, he's He makes a judgment about whether someone's innocent or guilty, whether they committed the crime or didn't commit the crime. Judgment. So judgment is there, it's real, but it's not what's important. It's not true. It's not absolutely true. It's like a film that's like over the top of the essence. Oh, look, there's a tree. It's not really true. It's judgment. It goes deep. Every thought is a judgment. So as you start to unwind your mind from thought, you start to become aware of this boundless infinite presence, this boundless infinite presence, this boundless infinite presence that's unshakable, that's unimaginable, that doesn't come or go, that doesn't arise and fall. Robin, the word perception seems kinder than judgment because you have a judgment about judgment. Which is fine. I'm just pointing it out to you that there's nothing inherently good or bad about the word judgment. We can judge it as good or bad, but there's nothing inherently good or bad about it at all. Nor is there anything good or bad about perception at all. So we recognize ourselves as this infinite space from which everything arises and falls back into. All our thoughts, which aren't even our thoughts, they're just thoughts, feelings, experiences, sensations, arises and falls back into. So now, as we realize who and what we really are, we become anchored in the emptiness, the vastness, the no-thingness, the spaciousness, the stillness, the void, the God consciousness, the source. And then, whatever arises is amazing. Whatever arises is amazing. Every thought is amazing. Every feeling is amazing. Every sensation is amazing. Every experience is amazing. What's considered good is amazing. What's considered bad is amazing. What's considered positive is amazing. What's considered negative is amazing. What's considered pleasurable is amazing. What's considered painful is amazing. What's considered happy is amazing. What's considered sad is amazing. Everything is in the nature of the miraculous. Everything is amazing because why? Because we don't understand it. Because we don't know how it arose, why it's here, where it's going, where it went. It's infinite reflections of the one and only light. It's us, exactly. Infinite reflections of the one and only light. So whatever is appearing in the world of phenomena is temporary, fleeting, an expression of the one, and not that important. And yet we give our whole being to it in this moment right now. 50 minutes. We're at 50 minutes. So this is what happens if you want to join the Secret Glow on Wednesdays with us. We go for about an hour, and we usually have people on people can come on and ask questions and share perspectives and move the things they're moving through. So there's a link at the bottom, thebigglow.com/online, to join us, be a part of our community. Seema, do you want to, I like to ask you that question. Why do you feel we exist? Why do you feel you exist? I addressed that a bit earlier, a little bit. It's like this essence of who we are is these are just words, they're just language, so don't get too caught up in the words. They're just pointers, as we say. So this essence of who we are is this essence of love. It's this essence of peace, it's this essence of freedom. It's ultimate empowerment. And it wants to express itself in form. It wants to activate and express itself in form, in bodies, and shapes, and sizes, and time, and space, and linearity. So that truth wants to be activated and expressed in this world. To play and co-create as infinite expressions of the one. And there may be lessons, there may be hard lessons, difficult lessons, challenging lessons to learn how to activate and express that in the world. So we're here for that too, but if we recognize that that's why we're here, then those things are things we're grateful for, that we appreciate, that they open us to greater levels of awareness and integrate aspects of ourselves to become more whole, to activate and express ourselves in the world more fully, wholly, and completely. To experience love, yes. So let's just sit for a moment in silence together. Allow the presence that's open to disseminate out as we go forward the rest of the day, whoever we come in contact with, wherever we interact with, that whether there's someone who's a stranger to us or familiar to us, or a family or a friend or an acquaintance, that we share this presence with them. And in doing so, knowing that we are transforming and changing the world and the evolution of human consciousness together just by our very presence. Thank you all so much for being here. So much love and appreciation. And maybe see you tomorrow.